Hello, and thank you for joining us on Hello Mayor. I'm City of Las Vegas Mayor Carolyn Goodman. After nearly a year full of challenges, Southern Nevada is looking towards the future as we get our economy back on track, get our residents back to work, and plan for our future. Today I want to sit down with Mayor John Lee of North Las Vegas to get his vision for his community and our region. So here we are, my favorite mayor. He has been so much a part of everything we've been doing here. Welcome, John Lee.
I'm excited to be here. You're very good leader, and I'd like to learn from the best. I'm happy to be here with you.
Well, going back to the first time when you called me and you said when your husband was mayor, did he ever bring all the mayors together in Southern Nevada? And I said no. And you said, well, why don't we do that? So we started at your request to bring us all together, all the mayors, Mesquite, North Las Vegas, of course, Las Vegas, Henderson, and Boulder City. And we do it with regularity to try to see how there are things that we can work on together. But first, if you would, I mean, there's so many people that I hear all the time, do you know anything about Mr. John Lee? And I say, yes, I do. He's very famous, especially in the legislature. Were you born in Las Vegas? What's a little of your background?
That's a good question. I was born in Middlesex, England, Ruislip Air Force Base. My father was in the military. He worked with a gentleman named Francis Gary Powers. Oh. And when he got shot down over the Soviet Union, we were a base within the base, and we were quickly dissolved and sent over to Roswell, New Mexico, another secret base kind of thing. And then from there we went, my father's career took him to Area 51. So he had a very high classification in the military and secret stuff, you know, and he was at the Bay of Pigs and very involved in and loved our country.
And did you have any idea of his involvement, or was that hush-hush around?
No, all I knew is he just worked in the Air Force, and sometimes people would come over and say, hey, some strange men came over house and asked about you. And they were doing background checks to make sure he wasn't talking. You know, they were very, very secure back then, and still today. So even 10 years after the event of my father retiring, then you can talk a little bit. Never talked, you know. But one story I did ask him, I go, is there do you believe there's Martians or something over in Roswell, New Mexico? And he goes, no, I wouldn't know about that. It was neat to know. And then he said, but there are some strange buildings over there, air conditioned differently.
Oh, is that beautiful?
So it leads me to believe I believe in Loch Ness Monster. I can believe in these guys.
And how many siblings?
I have two sisters.
Older?
Younger.
Younger than you. So you were the biggest force in the house, I'm sure. So when did your family move to Las Vegas?
We came here in 1960 in June. And my father finished his career and said, where do you guys want to move to? You want to go to Shreveport? He was from Pensacola, and it was a little closer. Or do you want to go to Anaconda, Montana, where my mother was from? And we said, we want to stay here. We like Las Vegas. So my father said, that's fine. And he went to work for the county at the convention center for the next 20 years. And we had a great life here.
Oh, so there's your connection to LVCVA, too, because I know you've served on that, and North Las Vegas has representation, too. So you went through the school system
all
here?
All the way through high school here, Rancho High School graduate, very proud.
Beautiful. And then?
And then I went to work. I got married a week I turned 19 years old. And
wow.
So college was not even discussed in our
Is that
our
many
home.
years you married?
46.
See, folks, it can't all be absolutely perfect, but it's pretty perfect. You've married a beautiful, wonderful, supportive partner, and how lucky for you all. So then tell us about politics. How did that get into your life?
Well, that was a fun story. So I was working, I had a couple, 3 or 4 businesses at the time, very, I would say, successful. And I just got tired of making money all the time. You know, it's like there's got to be more to this world than just making money. And I got put on in the city of Las Vegas is where I started my career.
Oh, I didn't know
Earlier,
that.
I had worked in traffic engineering at the city, and then I left and went into construction. But then I was on the Parking and Traffic Commission, and then I was on the Parks and Recreation Board for the city of Las Vegas for many years. It was a great tutelage. You had great leaders back then, and I learned quite a bit. And that
so
got me
where
interested.
did the appetite then come from?
I think, once again, I just thought there's more to this life than just making money all the time. You give something back. You know, my mother went in the Peace Corps for 4 years to Sierra Leone, Africa. We were kind of a give back.
Did you go? Did you
Oh,
go
no,
with
no.
her?
She did
No,
that later on in life. She was a health nurse, health aid
Isn't that
nurse.
beautiful? Oh, how
So
wonderfully
we just have the side of
expansive.
us, when you got enough, you got enough. Just help people now.
So then you decided to run for office
I
as
did.
assembly, or?
Yeah, the state assembly, and it was District 3, and I won that race. And to be honest, Carolyn, I didn't know what I got into. I just knew I could support our area better than the person that was actually supporting the area. When we passed Indian Springs, I'd never been any farther in the state of Nevada up that direction.
Oh, my
Because if you don't have relatives in Reno, or
Right.
you know, some ancestral people going up there, then we live in Las Vegas. Up there, they live in Nevada. You know, it's just two different mindsets. But I went up to Carson City, the greatest education I've ever received in my life. I think I got a full college experience, you know.
How many years were you
I
serving?
was 6 years in the state assembly and 8 years in the state senate. I was chairman of a committee called Government Affairs, and that also interested me in how local governments work. So when I decided to run for mayor, I was prepared. You know, I'd worked with a lot of mayors and city council
But you
people.
were pretty powerful up there. What was the most significant committee that you were on or chaired?
I would say chairman of Government Affairs that affected all the local governments and worked side by side in trying to solve problems that governments had. I was on agriculture, mining. I was on taxation one time. I was transportation. A lot of interesting ones. But I think the Government Affairs Committee and having a powerful committee was my funnest opportunity, my most eventful.
Well, I remember when I first met you, Ted Olivas, who's our former government affairs leader here down in the city, he said, I want you to meet the most these were his words, and so I'm a little nervous. I want you to meet the most powerful man in our legislature. He does come from down here, and this is in Old City Hall in 2011. And I just was so moved that you would come down. I'd have an opportunity to talk with you and meet you, and you were so gracious. And then, why did you decide I'm going to run for mayor?
Well, I had been there quite a few years, and
Moving to North
and then
Las Vegas.
I'd seen the community I grew up in, North Las Vegas, was going down the maelstrom. It was just going out of business almost. The city of Las Vegas and the county had pretty much decided North Las Vegas isn't going to make it financially anymore. And there was a line drawn who would take what, but nobody wanted the debt of the city. So therefore, it just kept floundering. You know, the state will have to fix North Las Vegas. Well, if you have $10 in your purse, Carol, and you have $10 more than the state of Nevada has, they have a very tight budget. You know, they can't just come down to save cities. So I recognized if I could take my experience, my business experience, my political experience, and given enough time, I think I could fix North Las Vegas. And we hired some brilliant people. But I couldn't let my hometown lose.
What was your population then?
Back when I
know?
became mayor?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. That wasn't a part of it. But my thing is, how could you let your Boy Scout troop lose, or Meadow School that you started, you know? How could you let your community fail? And I just decided it was time that I would at least try to save North Las Vegas.
What a difference. The boundaries of North Las Vegas include exactly what? I know that you've got a whole new area that you're looking to develop, as well as all the successes that you've been part of I mean, you were near bankruptcy.
Yeah. I remember making a call to Detroit earlier in my first week in business here, and I thought, we had $156 million in debt and found out another $6 million hole in the budget. It didn't look good. And I called Detroit up. I wanted to talk to the mayor there because they had declared some sort of bankruptcy. You can't do that in Nevada. And I wanted to ask them, how did the bankruptcy of Detroit affect the town next door to it? So here's North Las Vegas. How would it affect Las Vegas or Henderson or something, you know? And they said, you're asking the wrong question, Mayor. You need to ask, how did the bankruptcy in Detroit affect the 3 states around it and southern Canada? It was a big sonic financial
much
boom.
bigger.
So what happens in Vegas would have been wiped out. North Las Vegas would have been the worst thing that could have happened to the state of Nevada. And I started working with the state. Marvin Levitt, one of your former employees here that ran your state finances for years, was in charge of the local government oversight committee. And I went to Marvin and said, Marvin, I'm going to fix this thing. I need time. I need you to come in and watch what I'm doing, advise us, you know, what the state needs done first to actually get us back on track. And then I had to move towards getting our bond rating fixed. It had dropped seven times, pardon me, and it was junk. It was gone, you know. And I can tell you, we've really brought it up. We've went up 6 levels in the last 7 years in our bond rating. We've become a lot more financially strong now.
Well, when I drive through North Las Vegas and visit friends, I mean, you have some wonderful opportunities in residential areas, to say nothing of just the business growth. What are you most proud of that time frame? I know, I mean, you had to be on your knees thinking, can I do this? Am I going to get the support, the backing to be able to do it? What was, first of all, what are you most proud of, and what were the biggest challenges?
I was proud of the fact that we had assets in place that I could actually work with. Given enough time, I can convert those into profit centers for the city. There's a difference between land and real estate. Real estate's that stuff you develop, you produce jobs when you build it, people go to work there after it's up and going. That's real estate. We had a lot of land. It's just like dirt. It held like between here in Utah, here in California, here in Arizona. You know, we're like an island here, but there's a lot of land. I had to convert that land into real estate. And so we were able to do that and have been very efficient in the infrastructure we put in. In fact, we've been very successful. We've had a great team from every level, from us, our directors on down. Everybody's been a part of that success.
Well, I look at the need for water, I look at energy, roadways, everything. I mean, you had a big sales job ahead of you. Was there a comprehensive focus that you had, or was it just basically survivalship and then trying to find, I mean, we all know that Southern Nevada has a great deal of investment in the entertainment industry and obviously now sports, but the Strip. So as you were looking at that time in North Las Vegas and adjacent to us here in the city, what were you seeing as an opportunity to do something different, maybe?
I've had a very wonderful business career, you know, so I've learned a lot of, through experiences, done very well. And I had a lot of people I could surround myself with and get good advice from. But the first order of business is to stay in business. And if we were going to stay in business, we had to turn our assets into profitability. So I didn't have a lot of people trying to come in and micromanage me from the state or anywhere. They just kind of stayed away, and I would report to them what I was doing, which was working out well. But I was able to start talking to the developers and explaining to them, see, when you hire John Lee to be your mayor, he's not the guy that's going to worry about how many sprinklers are out at Craig Ranch Park or how many street lights are out or blinking red lights. There's wonderful people that work for the city that handle all of that. You pay John Lee to know where we're going to be 10 years from now. And so I was able to set out a vision, and then I started calling people in. And I remember the recession hardly hadn't got over since 2010, and I'd called in this company called Van Trust, and I said, listen, guys, I need you to build a spec building. I will go all over this country and fill this building for you somehow, but we have got to get some industrial going in North Las Vegas to diversify the economy of Southern Nevada. And so they took me up on that, and they built a 1 million square foot building, and the whole industrial market went, wait a minute, I mean, usually you have somebody who wants to come here, you build it to the way they want it, you produce the building for them, and you give them the keys. In this case, somebody's going out in this market and investing all their own money, taking all that risk, and they're going to hope they get somebody to move into it. But we were able to I promised them I would get it filled, you know, and they understood my vision. And when that building went up, it just sent light bulbs all across the city, like, we're back, you know, we're back, you know, construction should start. I remember calling off the recession about 6 months earlier and saying, we're done with the recession, we're going to go make some money now. And so we started turning our efforts to making money, you know.
No, and you can see it, and I know while there's so many other parts to the city of North Las Vegas, certainly the warehousing, and when I visit, which I do with frequency, as do you, 3 Square, and I look at the important pieces of our southern Nevada area. I mean, you have nothing but land.
Yeah.
We have no land. We're you know,
You're
we're
landlocked.
landlocked.
Yeah.
But which is wonderful because we get so many calls from people that want to do business, open-ended thoughts. And so, as you know, because we do speak somewhat frequently, that we refer them to you and say, look what you can do. And so, as you see, and you said you had the vision, is there an end to that vision? Do you see, first of all, is this your second or third term?
It's my second term, but the thing that I had to do was, actually every day, Carolyn, I get up and compete with you. I compete with Henderson, because somebody's coming
Well,
here, they're
we're
going to
so
go
different,
somewhere.
though.
But it's
Yeah.
in business, you know what I mean? It's not, if somebody wants to move from Las Vegas to North Las Vegas, I'm excited. But I go, why are you moving here? And they, oh, we're mad at this or mad at that. I say, go back, let's fix that ad. I'll call Ted Olivas, like you mentioned, or somebody. This guy's got an issue. It doesn't do good to steal your customers to come over to North Las Vegas. You have your own budget you got to handle. So we try to go get new dollars throughout this region and bring in new jobs. My job as mayor of North Las Vegas is to diversify this economy. We've got a great gaming, tourism, and hospitality unit here already, but I've got to get it where both the husband and wife are not working just in that industry anymore. So next time a terrible accident happens like 9/11, we all lost, you know. If I can build enough diversification that maybe your wife works at Caesar's Palace and she's a dealer and it's good tips, it's a good gig, you know, but maybe the husband should be building something or manufacturing something in North Las Vegas that if there is a blip in the economy with gaming, tourism, and hospitality, we're still producing something that's being sold somewhere else in the world. So I'm trying to diversify the economy of Southern Nevada, but ultimately I'm trying to diversify the incomes of the families in North Las Vegas so that
Well,
they
and I
can keep
know,
their
too.
homes, you know,
Yes,
and pay
well,
their
I
water
know
bill.
too. You've got the spouses and families of Nellis.
Yeah.
And they're part of your community. They're part of the whole community because the children are going to school everywhere.
Yeah.
But how much involvement has that produced in North Las Vegas?
There's 40,000 people that have something to do with Nellis Air Force Base in this valley, and most of them live in North Las Vegas because it's close to the base. Spouses, dependents, active service, you know, whatever their position are. We've got the VA hospital. 10,000 people a month are going to that hospital now. Congressman Shelley Berkeley
God
was
bless
such
her.
a visionary to get that thing into our
Yes.
community for these people. They come from Arizona, Utah, California. They come to this facility now. In fact, as we love Shelley so much, we named a road after her
Oh, you
to let
did?
her know that there'll always be a
that's
place in our
beautiful.
hearts for that lady. But the military
woman.
is wonderful. And so I am now producing jobs that they're staying in Las Vegas now. They're going to go to work for those companies. You know, we have people call me up all the time. I retired military. I want to hire military people. We just shoot them right over there because they're trained, they're dedicated people. So we have a great patriotism in North Las Vegas. Fact is, I think we're the most patriotic city in North Las Vegas, having Nellis next door. We hear the planes all the time. It's the sounds of freedom. We love Nellis. My
No.
father retired there too, so.
So that makes it different. You haven't named a street for him yet. You better
No,
do that.
but you've been chairman of the Citizens Military Council from
As
time
have
to
you.
time, and we work very closely with Nellis so we don't impede the mission of Nellis Air Force Base too.
Nellis is, and we have Major General Corcoran now, and
Yep.
so involved with trying to get the spouses to get involved in the community, and of course the children, as I mentioned, the schools probably are many of them going to school in North Las Vegas. So they've been a wonderful partner for us all these years, and we love and respect and are so grateful for all of those who serve our community and our country. I mean, it's just great. But taking a look at that Veterans Hospital, I remember when we opened that, and yes, Shelley Berkeley really just was on that all the time. How's the development been around that? That was isolated. It was far out there. I don't think the RTC came, I think the last drop was a couple of miles away from, so how could they get from the regional transportation bus drops off to the hospital. How are things out there now? Is there more movement and
Yes,
development?
there's tons of development out there. We produced 3,000 houses last year, more than we've ever produced in any year. They are no longer an island in the desert. A lot of times people would go down to 215 and say, what's that casino doing over there? Because it is such a beautiful building. It doesn't
Yes.
look like a traditional hospital. But we have 150 acres across the street from the VA hospital that Senator Harry Reid helped us get that land so we can do some medical research stuff. We're getting ready to put that out right now to look for a developer. And thank you, Senator Reid, for that leadership. It was really needed in that lands bill. And
So what are you looking
they're on the
for?
7th edition, though. I don't know if you know this, the 7th
No.
build out on that thing. That hospital is not that little hospital you went to.
Wow. I
So-
didn't know that. When you say, I mean, for an RFP or whatever you're seeking and offering to the community, what specifically now can you talk about in that area?
With that 150 acres, it will be a medical creation zone, something we'll do with medical. And so that land was deeded to us. We went through all the process with the government, getting them, put it in our position now. And now Gina Gavino is our economic redevelopment director.
Yes, I know
She
Gina.
now has meetings set up, I think March 15th, where all the developers can come in now and start deciding how they want to do that. We're not developers. The city is not a developer. There'll be a master developer, and he'll find maybe a children's hospital, or he'll find some facilities that will benefit because of that VA hospital.
But all federal. We're talking a public federal total research something.
Nope.
Nope.
It could be private.
Private as well.
Yeah, it could be public, it could be private. You know, most huge, wonderful VA hospitals are next to a teaching school. So as my city manager would say, Ryan Juden, that you could be in the red bricks of a schoolhouse learning healthcare, you know, in the healing arts of any degree. And you walk down a hallway, and then all of a sudden the red bricks turn white because now you're in the hospital, you know. And it's that relationship is
talking
what
about.
we need to do with our 150 acres. Research, taking care of people. There's so much happening in healthcare right now. If you're getting any kind of cancer, boy, 10 years ago it was completely different. You know, I'm a cancer survivor, and we are fixing the health of humans in Southern Nevada now with the
Well,
doctors we
and,
have.
You know, I think, well, medicine, and because of technology, so much is shared and so much done for both of us, because that's where, you know, he is so wonderful, but both being survivors and knowing the difference of what the research does make. So you envision for that area and proceeding along for the further development of science, research, education. Do you have, I know you have at least one campus, CSN campus. Do you have any marriage yet with UNLV or any other Toro? Because we're talking Shelley Berkeley, former Congresswoman Berkeley, who served many, many terms, who's the president of the Toro out in the Henderson area. Do you have any plans there?
We personally have let them know that this land will be coming available.
Okay.
You know, and so we would think that when the master developer gets there, he will reach out and find out what the needs are for education and stuff like that, or if there's other schools that would like to come here. But we personally, it's been just get the land free and clear of the encumbrances of the military.
Tell us about Apex.
Oh, yeah, I could. Fact is, the most exciting thing about Apex is we've got 2 water lines going up there now. We have one developer who was going to put a water line up there, and we upsized it to work with him, and that water goes all the way to the top of the bowl of the valley. You know, that's where this Weston Adams of Western States is building an industrial park there. And as that water line goes up, then business follows water, follows power, follows infrastructure. We've probably got 4 more industrial parks that are moving their way now up the hill, leaving the bowl of the valley. And then with the wonderful Southern Nevada Water Authority Board and John Emsinger, and you have a great Cedric, city councilman on that board, voted to support a regional work on the water system. and we're having a new water line going up there that comes from Southern Nevada Water Authority. And so the future is in North Las Vegas. If this is where money is, and it's going this direction, it's going to North Las Vegas because of the activity. Business owners need to learn how to get in the middle of that. And it's just blessed because we had the infrastructure now. But we don't have a lot of things that City of Las Vegas has too. You guys in Henderson.
And it's beautiful. We're government. No, the government, we have the state building, the county building, our local buildings, everything. I mean, government's here, the federal building, and the courthouses.
Yeah.
You also were instrumental, were you not, in building a new city hall?
Well, the city hall has been built, and we actually have the Secretary of State's office there. Barbara Sagowski's there. We think she's great.
Yes.
And we love that facility. It's a LEED building. We recently, a big event was we used to have, you guys came in, Betsy Fretwell, your city manager at the time, came in and saved North Las Vegas. She took our prison system and took it to where our prisoners were, and you guys for years took care of if we ever had a prisoner. I don't remember if we ever had a prisoner come from North Las Vegas, but you guys took care of our situation there. Now we've opened our jail back up again.
Because it's a beautiful facility, as I remember touring it in 2011.
Yeah, we had to mothball it. Well, Betsy saved North Las Vegas there. And the second thing major thing is we just opened up another court in North Las Vegas. We want to have a diversionary court where the same people come back for alcoholism, or they're a veteran, or
like
different
a specialty
issues,
court.
Then we now have grown up enough with our finances to now offer that again in North Las Vegas.
Wonderful.
So our wonderful city attorney, Michaela Moore, has been working tirelessly to get that going, and now her and the city manager, Ryan Juden, have worked with the court system. We're opening another
We
courthouse.
have, I think, 6 or 7 specialty courts. They've been absolutely so significant in helping people get back to life and giving some a second chance.
And we're actually working with your court system and your wonderful judges as they're helping us rebuild that. We have a great city council, and each of those takes specific assignments. I know you were on the Las Vegas Convention Authority Board, and I sat there for a short period of time. And then Pam Goins-Brown's on it. We've got Scott Black, who's in charge of 2 major committees in this valley. We've got Richard Churchio on other committees, and Isaac Barone. And they just report back.
Now, are you similar? I know that we share our council chambers sometimes for meetings, but when you look, we're divided into 6 wards, and then the mayor, of course, elected by the totality. So there's 7 of us with obviously an odd vote to break a tie. You're 5 council persons and wards, or no?
Yeah, you're right. There's 5 total. There's 4 city council people and the mayor. And so we...
But as you're getting more BLM pulled in to North Las Vegas, more land, and because we haven't seen the results, but the census that we're due to hear about soon, what do you see? Do you see that growing to being a larger council?
No, I don't see that at this time. I do tell you our population, is growing.
Yes.
I think that would be done in the legislature because our charter, I believe it's charter change.
But you would see the need for that. So do you at this point?
I don't see the need for it now, and I'll tell you why. Because we have a great county commissioner in Marilyn Kirkpatrick that comes over, and we work with her closely. So if you're not solving problems and you're not getting to things, then you probably need somebody else. But we're covering all the bases quite well. Yeah. So fine.
North Las Vegas is in County Commissioner Marilyn Kirkpatrick, Chair Kirkpatrick's district.
Yes.
For the most part. Are you represented by even a slice by any other commissioner?
Yeah, Lawrence Weekly was there for years and years.
So William McCurdy.
There was a small section that, not a small section, he had a good sized section, and he lives in North Las Vegas, and he was our other representative. Now, you just mentioned that we have a new county commissioner, and there's a new change,
And that's getting involved and knowing what it is. What's your favorite part of being mayor?
I think my favorite part of the mayor is seeing a blank sheet of paper and to be able to draw the picture I want on it, and then involve other people in that dream. But I will tell you, I did have a big aha moment the other day. I went over to Canyon Springs High School, and we were doing our COVID over there. We took all our librarians. We didn't want to lay anybody up during this COVID thing, and we put them into calling businesses for CARES dollars, for setting up COVID shots and all that kind of stuff, and to walk in there and see how extremely well our fire chiefs, Travis and Joe Calhoun, had built a system over there that we were moving people in and out of our COVID lines, and to see those people just so happy that they were receiving service from our city. The greatest respect that I have for our council is we work for the people in North Las Vegas, and our employees understand that they live a good life because those people there are paying our salaries. That gives me the sweetest feeling in the world.
And do you have, when you take that vision, that blank piece of paper, and you have a dream or a vision that you want to see happen, where's your sounding voice? What after that is down, where's your first stop? Where do you go with that idea?
Well, I kind of run when I say I run our city is run more like a business than a government, you know, because the assets, the responsibilities we have. So I have 5 people that I surround myself with, and I know you have a city manager, and you have a city attorney, and I had Darren Adair as our finance director, and Will, and I tell them, I say, this is where I think the city should go, and I make my case. And then I let all them talk, and they all talk about it, and then it comes time to vote, and if 3 of the 5 say no, we don't do that. I have to start over again, figuring out why they don't think this is a good idea, but we work kind of like a brain trust there. The mayor just doesn't slap his gavel on the ground and say, this is the way we're going. We work it, you know, as a business, and so.
And responsive to the people as you see it, and there's so many sectors. I know you have some wonderful residential areas. Are there some that are really seeing more popularity right now? I have, when you talked about people living in Las Vegas and then moving to North Las Vegas, you're absolutely right, because they have been following jobs.
Yes.
And what are the plans when you talk about these individuals that may retire from Nellis, or you're talking about the development of Apex? You certainly have to have residential development.
We do. And we have the best builders in the valley. There was a day a lot of the builders wouldn't come to North Las Vegas to build because of the restrictions, or they were treated, or whatever happened. I had to go to Nat Hodson at Southern Valley Home Builders and have a meeting and say, those days are over. We want to be partners with you. What are the issues that we had in the past, and how do we solve them? But you mentioned a migration question, and you're right. I tell Henderson's wonderful Deborah Marsh, who we both love.
Yes.
We just love her so
Yes.
much. But I tell her, I said, there's going to be a migration of people leaving Henderson. You won't feel it because somebody else will buy their home. But they're not going to stay on the 215 and take 45 minutes to get to work anymore.
Right.
When I produce these jobs, these higher paying jobs here, we're going to be bringing a lot of those people over here to North Las Vegas. And I'm happy. I want more people to move here, but I want North Las Vegas and Las Vegas people and Henderson people to get the jobs that we produce here, you know. And so our market of homes is going up and up. But it's an odd thing about North Las Vegas. Very few people ever leave North Las Vegas and move to Boulder City or move to Mesquite. They just move higher up into the suburbs of North Las Vegas. You know, they stay within their community. So we have a very loyal people that live in North Las Vegas.
Do you have any condominiums, 4th story, 5-story? Is that in the plans coming in the future? Or are they all, you know, single or 2-story?
We're probably more single and 2-story. Those condominiums are view lots, you know, and people that want to see the Strip or Fremont Street or something, you know. See, I always look at you guys at the county and the city of Las Vegas, and you guys are like the boutique. You got the Strip, you got Fremont, you got a lot of cool stuff, you know. But we're the breadbasket. You know, we want to be the breadbasket. We want to produce the income, the jobs, the diversification, and stuff like that. We can't compete with you guys when it comes to entertainment.
But you talk about high-end jobs, but you also have moderate income jobs.
Yeah.
Do you feel North Las Vegas has the diversity, socioeconomic, as well as every other cultural, racial diversity that you see as a total community? Do you see that in the future as you're coming? I mean, I know a lot of the development's been in the warehousing, that once you've got it up, it's done.
Yeah.
And then the population to work that shrinks. So as you look to the next step of what you're doing and the development of Apex, which of course does bring residential, what do you see for that socioeconomic mix as well as the cultural mix, everything else coming?
We are very diverse already: Hispanic, African Americans, Caucasians, Polynesians, or wherever, you know,
And
fit
Native
in that
American
category.
too.
Yeah. And so I tell people all the time, we've only got one class of people in North Las Vegas. It's us. There's nobody more important or any better than anybody else. We don't have a golf course that's got special membership. I lived at Red Rock Country Club for a while, and people would say, "Oh, I'm in the country club golf course." We don't have the North Las Vegas Yacht Club. You know, we just have us. You know, we work together, we live together. I always tell people that my life, I always loved working with Republicans, but I loved living with Democrats. We don't have the issues, you know, like who's got the nicer car or the nicer house.
Right.
We just are people. We get along. If there's a dog running down the road, when I lived at Red Rock Country Club, they would say, "Oh my gosh, call security, there's a dog, you might have rabies." In North Las Vegas, there's a kid on a bike and a dog chasing him, and if the dog gets lost for a minute, he'll find his way home.
Well,
you know,
I
they're
see, I
just
love it.
people, you know.
Yeah,
so
but as you're successful, it's going to grow.
It will.
And then with everything, as we know, growth is you start in a very open, fielded area, and then all of a sudden it gets more dense, and then the borders keep going out because people want this space. Tell us a little bit about the parks and recreation. I understand you are a consummate biker.
Yeah.
And so is that something you grew up doing? I mean, you're pretty, you go on these long, long bike rides.
Well, I don't collect anything, you know, so I mean, I just have a bicycle, you know what I mean? That's my collection.
What kind of a bicycle?
It's a Cannondale, but I have road bike and mountain bike. And so I've rode my bicycle from Lake Tahoe in California all the way to Utah, you know, 435 miles, 5 mountain ranges, you know. It was a good ride. I went to visit my daughter one time in Colorado, and I brought my bike with me, and I woke up next morning and there's this big mountain in front of me, and I go, "What is that place called?" He goes, "That's Pikes Peak." I'd always heard about it.
Oh, no.
I'd never been there, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to ride my bike up that.
No, you didn't.
So I drove up it the first day, and the next day I said, "Here I go." And I got on my bike, and there's 165 switchbacks, and I made it to the top, didn't stop, and I was in good shape back then. And so
Wow.
I really like my own company. You know, I'm riding my bike. I kind of get to talk
Do
to
you
myself.
have earphones and playing music?
No, I just think. I just talk. I smile. But what's interesting on that ride is I would be hitting wind. It was like, it felt like 20 miles an hour. I mean, you ride fast at 20 miles an hour, but if you're hitting winds at 20 miles an hour, you're zigzagging on the road trying to go up it like this. And I think I got to stop. It's a bad weather day. This isn't supposed to happen to me today. And I got to quit. And I would ride a little bit more, and all of a sudden I'd go into another strata. There was no wind. It was like a sunshine day, and I'd take off riding again, you know. So your body doesn't excrete any desire to sweat or go to the bathroom. It keeps all the fuel, the water in the body, you know.
Isn't that incredible?
And it was an amazing ride.
Was it exhilarating, would you say, or was it a personal achievement? Was it exhilarating or a personal achievement?
I think when I try to set a goal, I try to set a seemingly impossible goal and hit it. So when I hit that top of that thing, I thought, did anybody see that but me? That one, my wife and my kids were up there too, my daughter, Lacey, you know, and they saw it, and I go, did you believe what we just did? It was like, we did it, you know? So it was probably
normally
exhilarating.
do you bike when you have this moment, the exhilaration. I
Yeah.
can imagine. But when you bike, you didn't do that alone then? You go with somebody?
No, that was alone. You know, because of my schedule, my work schedule, I don't have time. I know that one of your wonderful camera guys here today is quite a prolific bike rider, and we have a minute to talk, but my schedule is such I don't have time, you know, but I ride a road bike, so I have time to mountain bike. I love the mountains. I love the environment, you know. I'm an environmentalist at heart when it comes to taking care of.
Doesn't your bride have a coronary while you're gone, wondering,
No,
do you take a well, who cares? You're up Pikes Peak, your cell phone didn't
She
work.
always tells me, I think it's time you went on a bike ride. You're getting grouchy.
I love it. And it does do that. It's
It does.
cathartic for you.
It is.
And how often are you biking?
Well,
and are there trails out in North Las Vegas, or are you implementing these bike
No,
trails?
that's a good question. No, we have not a trail system. We have a system of paved trails, and we keep
Okay.
adding to it as we're growing more homes there. One day that trail will loop the whole valley, but I have to go on the record and say, Henderson does it right. They know what they're doing when it comes to trails. They've got a park a mile from everybody's front door. They've got the outdoor environment and opportunities that we wish we had in North Las Vegas, you know. Maybe one day we'll be able to catch it, but right now it's...
Because I think the dream was to have it comprehensively around the entire valley. And I know for having visited Albuquerque, I mean, the mountain ranges and the city, it's sort of, you go to sleep in one place except for the air balloons, and you come here to Las Vegas and you don't know which place you're really at. And I know there's been this effort to get this trail going outdoor Las Vegas, all the way around.
Outside Nevada and some of those organizations.
Yes.
We're fully involved with that. We make the developers to carry the trail on even farther.
Yeah, we have to protect that. We have to protect the natural resources that we have here and the parks. So the efforts now for you as you look at Apex and you look at your growth and economic development, a piece of that has to be for the totality of life, your parks. How integral is park development into what you plan?
Well, we have a gentleman named Cass Palmer, who's our parks director, and he does quite a few things.
Cass.
Cass, he's with the United Way. Yes,
wonderful man.
Fantastic leader. And so he always worked with SNPLMA to get more money for parks, and he's got Craig Ranch is moving right now. They're gonna have a little train out there he's got coming in, and we have an amphitheater there. We have neighborhood parks like everybody else has, but we have one regional park that is fantastic, you know, and so we continue. As I mentioned, County Commissioner Lawrence Weekly, he had some additional money in a big parks fund that he had. We're putting in, I think, 4 soccer fields, and we're changing our tennis to play that. There's another game pickleball,
Yes, thank you. I credit Mayor Pro Tem Stavros Anthony from Sun City, as they wanted to have pickleball. And now the plaza has 16 courts, and there's competitions. They're doing them out at Sunset Park. They're developing good. So you're catching up with that.
We're catching up. So. But no, and then let me go back to Apex for 1 second.
Okay. I just look at that and I think, wow, what that could
18,000 acres, 7,000 are unundulated, nice and flat. The water and sewer system completed will be 7 years. There'll be lots of it that'll already start working. As the water gets there, we can tie into the water till they get another water tank and then go to the next section. We've got wells out there now. People can actually go out and work. Yeah, we can go out there right now and build. We have, except for the sewer system, which is now being started. And I think Pogemeyer Design is the ones putting in our
the septic
or our sewer system. Yeah. So we're racing. All the environmental impact statements were done. Everything was ready to go. So out of that big master bill that the Southern Nevada Water Authority approved, we were first on the list. And they've been very good partners.
You pushed. I mean, you really pushed. I saw you in every cartoon in my brain carrying North Las Vegas flag out there. I mean, to me, that area is just so incredible. For you to even see in a bigger frame, because people, maybe as it develops, and depending the thematic development, what you see with communities right there in the Apex area.
Well,
Is one area reserved strictly for residential?
No, there were no, because of the mission of Nellis Air Force Base. You know, if they
Oh,
had to
of
drop a
course.
bomb or something. But I can tell you this, Tracy Larkin, who worked for the state NDOT, we were able to let her see what we were doing, and she looked at it and said, I've got to get ahead of you guys then. And so we did a lot of work out there in the road system and NDOT. And so this is the only bad part about growth. It will be between Craig Road and Cheyenne and out farther, as busy as it used to be in your town between Charleston and Sahara on the freeway.
Right.
There'll be that much activity
Wow.
out in that area, producing jobs, diversifying our economy out there. So growth sometimes does bring a little bit of distraction when driving, but it's going to be worth it
Well,
to the
and when
valley.
you fix the roadways, which are spaghetti bowl where the 95, 155,
Yeah.
and the 15 come together, the more you fix it up and widen it, the more traffic you get. And all that happens is you're just pushing the boundaries further out, which creates more traffic. So,
Well, but the speedway out there, I don't know, you've had a lot of
yeah.
big events in your community. You know what you have to do for traffic. Life is
Yes.
beautiful and stuff.
electric daisy out
Yeah,
there.
that, you know, we're widening, the state's widening that again because of how well they're
NASCAR, well.
doing out there.
Right, and you've got a whole new race that's come in
Yep.
that they've managed to get. It's been very tough. Now, let's talk a little bit about what this has been like and what do you see coming forward. Of course, I'm speaking of COVID. And so as you saw that coming down the pike and the state of emergency was declared, tell us a little bit about North Las Vegas, what you saw happening, how you handled it, and now here we are in almost a full year in about 7 days, 8 days. And what do you see?
Well, we were always hesitant to allow people to work from home. It just didn't seem like there was enough eyes on the person or the product, or the person didn't have access to the person next door to them in another facility that's right next door. I mean, to work on plans or do something. But we actually sent our employees home and said, we need to shut down here, but can you work from home? It has been fantastic for us in North Las Vegas.
Wow.
I think we will have employees that will never see the inside of City Hall again unless they're called in for a meeting. They have been so responsive to this. I mean, they get
Now,
up.
why?
Well,
Explain. Here
they-
they are. I mean, maybe they had children and having to have their children at home as the schools were shut down. But that social interaction, face to face. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
you can Zoom, and we all know that. But for me to sit here with you right now and to be able to see your body language, what your eyes are saying, and everything, you don't see that in Zoom.
No, but these people also work their own schedule. So we see people get up start at 10 o'clock at night, and they'll work till 1 o'clock in the morning. Then
Wow,
they come
interesting.
they put in their time. They're not tricking the system. They've been very responsive to their responsibilities at the city, and they've done fantastic. And
But your marshal,
trust
your
them.
law enforcement, you have your own. Your fire is
Mm-hmm.
and rescue. They're full time. They're on the job. They're there. So
Yeah.
you're talking pretty much the main office, City Hall.
Yes.
And so, was it ever closed entirely? And had you been going in? What remained open, if any part of that, and
Well,
for what duration?
If I told you 50% of the people still had to come in, that's
Okay.
probably about right.
Oh.
But then we went and streamlined our permit applications. You guys did the same thing. A
Yes.
lot of things happened online now that will never go back to the old way things were done.
Did you save money by doing
Oh
it? do you
yes,
think?
we did. Sometimes you save money by not spending additional money. You know what I
Right,
mean? So we saved a
right.
lot of money. Our firefighters and our police officers and our first responders, we had to see that they were COVID tested. You know what I mean?
Right.
And or shot. I mean, get their shots and stuff like that. We were very responsive to our community and opening COVID centers for them. We've done a fantastic job in taking care of our community.
Congratulations, if any of you from North Las Vegas who have the good fortune to be part of his team. That's wonderful news to hear. I
Yeah.
mean, you obviously are very devoted to your team and appreciative of everything they do. So as you look to that, and I know because we've gone through the same thing, and probably we had 360 of our 2,000 plus employees with the same thing,
Yeah.
law enforcement, our fire rescue, all being out there, first responders, but for city work. As you look to the future, are you looking to bring them back soon in this next phase?
Well, that's why we have the directors such as you have. I'll let them make that decision. But we have two speeds in North Las Vegas, fast and faster. So if that director's not getting his work done, he's going to have to account for why things aren't happening, you know. And so I'm the city manager, the directors, we all work together, you know what I mean? And is the system functioning as efficiently as possible? Where can we make a change, you know? And so I'll let the directors choose how to build their own business within our business. But, you know, if we see a flaw, then we'll be discussing it.
But now we're at a point, and based on what's been in the press from the federal government, you are now included in direct funding from the federal government, from the Get America Act Back Act. So as you see that happening, aside from obviously it's budget time for all of us, so you have to look at what you've been spending and what you plan to do. Do you see any pockets that you really want to concentrate on building?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we do. First up, we have a lot of technology, old technology at the city, you know, so we need to put some money in there. We've done quite well with the revenues that we're earning. We didn't ask for this money, and we wouldn't have never asked for the money, but we have needs that this will help the city function even better in the future. So if this ever happens again, I hear all the time there's going to be another pandemic, and then there'll be another pandemic kind of stuff. We'll be able to function a lot more efficiently and not have to lay anybody off. We won't be hiring more people. We'll be able to use the same staff we have now.
How about your hospitals?
I'm on a hospital board, North Vista Hospital.
Yes.
They're operating very, very well.
And how were they at a point of overload crunch, and then what happened? And of course you've got the Veterans Hospital. What do you see? Any of this money to even go ahead and expand with population growing, new hospital?
Well, North Vista Hospital is run quite well by Vince, and he's not requesting any money. He can get his own money from the government if they can prove it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Kind of thing. No, this money. Example though. Let me be honest. We thought we lost about $129 million with room tax and sales tax and seed tax. You know, that's what we assumed. Then Will Hardy, our finance director, work on it and figure we lost about $79 million. And that hurts. That's going to take a long time. It could take you 10 years to get back to where you were. So that money is going to be able to help us back again. But, you know, with our bond rating and all the stuff that we've been doing, we were probably the best prepared city because we went through the last recession that was ugly. I think you guys were smarter.
It was so, but that was so tough.
But I'm just saying, you had smarter people working for you than we had then. We finally caught up to you guys.
Well, and we all know as they closed the hotels and everything shut down, that's the room tax that is divided throughout southern Nevada and the state and, goodness, our roads, everything. It really killed us because it wasn't a small bite at a time. When you closed down and cut that off, it did. It was knee bending and really on our.
Do you know one of the smartest things that happened that we were able to benefit from was the Regional Transportation Commission, Tina Quigley. She changed the way the formula was so that the gas index allowed us to start generating more income. We were able, with that money at the RTC, to keep a lot of jobs going, a lot of potential infrastructure was put in. There's been some very smart people ahead of us, you know what I mean?
Well, and luckily, if you don't learn from history, you have to remember history.
Yeah.
and to see where the mistakes are so you can be better. To start today and destroy history
Yeah.
makes no sense. We couldn't move at all because you're learning that from all those who preceded you. And the only thing I can assure you is I know the suggestion of all of us working as mayors over the years together has been so beneficial to all of us. And because each of the mayors are elected at large, it's a voice of the people that we all try to satisfy and include where it's important, but you're elected for a reason. And obviously, a big piece of that, aside from that he's so handsome, is that, and I'm not allowed to, to say that today age you don't do that. But the reality
No,
is,
I'll accept that.
no, but the reality is your visions,
Yeah.
and you're flexible. And it's an exciting time to be alive and to be involved in it. And yet this man, it really feels the pulse beat of his people and the fact that you love your community.
Yeah.
So it's been a glorious time, and I can't encourage you enough. Can you announce here that you would seek a third term?
So can I just pat you on the back for 1 second?
No, this is my show and I rule here. So
This
when
community
you have your
is
show,
so lucky to have you, because when anything happens in Las Vegas, you are the focal point. You know what I mean? The mayor
of course.
The mayor of Las Vegas is the focal
Right.
point. And it really makes the rest of us pretty easy that we're not getting calls from all the national networks to talk on television about Las Vegas.
Let Goodman put her foot in her mouth, right?
We love
we'll
you,
take
Carol.
the heat for that. And they got an old lady here who isn't frightened of a little heat.
Smart as a whip, too, and very in touch with all of us.
You know, I'm so excited to see the future. I know we're coming back stronger than ever. I feel it. I hear it. Our teams here, everybody, we're so cohesive. Everything in the city of Las Vegas, and I can hear it from you. We're all one people working for the same thing. And we just know when we know what we know. And we know when we don't know, and we stay away from that or try to learn.
Well, I have great expectations for this valley, and especially for North Las Vegas. I share that with you.
Well, and you are looking forward to that. I can't encourage you enough, because I think a very big piece, and you have many people that will run for the office, I'm sure, and would do it with their hearts open and wanting to participate and make a mark. But the continuity of this to get us through COVID, get us into a rebuilt economy. And so dreams and visions and biking, and I'm not sure I'd like that so much to send you off for the day.
North Las Vegas,
to your wife.
North Las Vegas has good leadership throughout. We'll be okay.
Well, it's just, it's a grand time, and you know, welcome back is one of the most important subjects that we have to talk about, but we'll do it on another time, is talking about our homeless situation,
Yes.
which is impacted everywhere across the country, but very definitely here, and of course Southern Nevada, because our climate is so phenomenal. Granted, if we're a little wimp-like in the summer when it's very hot, but the reality is, I want to thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to have this guy back. Thank you for you at home for watching us, and we'll see you next time for another episode of Hello Mayor. Have a great time, a great day. Be careful, take your shots if you care to. And thank you, Mayor Lee, you're the best.
My pleasure.